Hello, in this tutorial we're going to briefly talk about effects, the different types of effects that are available in Zen, and also different ways of thinking about how these get routed. So in tutorial 2 we described streams as being like separate channels on your mixing desk. So we're going to extend that metaphor and say that, let's say we've plugged a synth into one of those channels. Between the synth and the channel we can put a whole load of guitar pedals. So that's how stream effects are set up. You've got the instrument and then it passes optionally through a series of effects. So I've got some boilerplate code here just to get us started. So stream 0, we're going to use our trusty synth. We're going to use a modulation index value of either 1 or 5 randomly. We're going to cut notes off and we're going to use a D Dorian mode randomly chosen spread over 16 divisions. So let's have a listen to that. Okay, so let's add our first effect. Effects tend to be added by using the name of the effect as the wet-dry balance. So by default each effect is just set to 0, so the signal passes through it unaffected. But I can change that to use increasingly more and more. So let's have half wet and dry. Then the different parameters of each effect tend to be prefixed with the first letter of the effect and then the rest of the parameters. This is the delay colour, so the kind of filter that's applied to each kind of echo. So let's put this at 0. Here the other extreme. So that's where it's as bright as possible, and that's where you can't really hear the echoes there because they're being dampened. Let's put it again halfway through. You can do D time. I believe this is a time value, so it's in milliseconds. Let's set it to 1000. We can map that to the tempo using this. Okay, so there's various parameters we can use for delay. Here's delay feedback. Of course, these don't have to be set statically. We can use mini notation here. So we could do something like, let's say D colour is either 0.5 or 0. Let's move this down. Let's say that should happen 8 times. Or we can write it patterns using the .p parameter to hold all the different patterns. So we could move something like the wet dry to sort between 0 and 1. Take 2 cycles to get going. There's interesting things we can do with our effects there. Next I'd like to discuss reverb. So let's set that to half and half. I think the reverb comes after delay in the series. So we could set it to just half and half. Let's put the delay back up here. We've got parameters such as the reverb tail, the promise of it. Dampening. Excuse me. And again we can that's one way of approaching effects, is by setting them on its stream itself. If we go back to our metaphor about using guitar pedals in series, if we had to do that for every instrument we had, we'd have to buy an awful lot of the same guitar pedal. So it's the same computationally, it's expensive to add reverb to every single channel, especially considering we're using a browser app here. So another way of approaching it is not by setting the FX parameters on the stream, but using what's called effects streams, which are dedicated streams. They have the same parameters as normal streams, but they're just dedicated to holding our different effects. Let's set that to 1. It's a stream, so you've still got to trigger it for it to work. Let's do everyone. And again, we can't hear the reverb because we need to send some of our stream signal to effects naught. And this means we can get different streams to use the same effects. So we're only using one reverb unit there, but it's being used by two different streams, so it's much less computationally expensive. The nice thing about this is that you can start to treat your effects in the same way that you treat your streams. So you can do things like effects naught.p. Let's modulate our reverb. Let's do our tail. Let's do random. Smooth it out, and then let's do every 60, and then let's get this to mutate anytime s0.e is true. Let's set this to something more interesting. And then start to get our streams to interfere with our effects streams as well in interesting ways. As ever, if you go to the docs and look in effects, we've got all the parameters that you can expect for all the effects in the effects chain and delay and the reverb. More coming soon. And in here we've got the explanation of what track effects and effect streams are and some example code to get you playing around with this. Enjoy.